There's some truth to the old saying that you get what you pay for.
Terrible.
On this channel, we try to find products that give you more than what you pay for. There are always companies out there that are hungry and want to earn your business. In the case of the Mongoose PT26, you're getting exactly what you pay for. Whether it's worth it or not is really up to the buyer to decide. I grew up riding cheap bikes and hand-me-downs. Sometimes that's all that's within your means. But when I was a kid, bikes were built better. They weren't designed by the accounting department at Walmart. As I go through the process of evaluating this bike, we all need to keep that in perspective. So I'll start with this premise. This is all you can afford. There are no good used core brand dirt jump bikes available to you, and you want a dirt jumper to ride. Will you still have fun on this? That's the question we're looking to answer in this video. If you haven't seen the first two videos, I'll link them above and in the description. In the first video, we determined that the fork was too flimsy to be safe for dirt jumping, and the brake was essentially non-functional. In the second video, the crankset vibrated loose and would have caused a serious crash if I kept jumping on it. There were various rattles and clanks as well. So I decided to go through the bike and look for any loose or compromised parts before I did anything else to the bike. Fortunately, I only found a couple of other concerning issues. First, the rear brake mount had vibrated loose. Second, the rear axle wasn't assembled properly and was also loose, so I adjusted them both. Low-grade parts and poor assembly are something to expect in this category. It's a good idea to check everything out when you get a new bike anyway. If you're not mechanically inclined, you could always return the bike to the store and have them fix it or exchange it, or just get a refund. In my case, I'm well past the refund date. So I'm going to make this bike as durable as possible for as little money as possible.
The right tool.
I'm going to replace the cranks and bottom bracket.
Bad thing it's the wrong tool, but I think it is the wrong tool.
We're going to ditch the cheaply made square taper setup. For those that don't know what a square taper bottom bracket is, they're an old standard that are common on cheaper bikes. The problem with them is that they are heavy, excessively flexy, and prone to wear out quickly. And yeah, I know, they are used in BMX race bikes, but this isn't one of those bottom brackets. This is an exceptionally bad bottom bracket. A plastic interface attached to aluminum threads installed in a steel frame and without any grease. For cheap replacements, Amazon was not an option. So when I look for a strong, cheap part, I look to the world of freestyle BMX. So for this upgrade, we're going to use a set of stolen brand Mob V4 3-piece cranks with an Odyssey Racing Euro bottom bracket. The cranks are made from 4130 chromoly and have a 19mm spindle with 8 splines and a pinch bolt for good measure. The benefit of a 3-piece crank is going to be the added strength and easy serviceability. You can take these cranks off with just an Allen key and a mallet. The chromoly crank arms are strong and can be easily replaced. Dirt jumpers will get crashed more often. And you want a bike that you can throw away easily and not worry too much about destroying it. Steel is great for this. Plus I'm hoping we'll save some weight with the lighter Euro bottom bracket. The front sprocket can easily be changed out for a number of different configurations to allow you to dial in the perfect gear ratio. In this case, we're using a Sunlie 32-tooth sprocket that I picked up on Amazon for $10. Pretty inexpensive for a sprocket. With BMX bolt drive sprockets, you need what's called a top hat washer to fit to the spindle. In this case, a 19mm spindle. Normally, sprockets come with them, but I cheaped out, and the Sunlight sprocket didn't come with one. So I cannibalized one off another sprocket I had, so I could finish off this project. The 32-tooth sprocket is smaller than the stock one, which is a 36-tooth. The smaller sprocket up front, coupled with the 16-tooth gear in the rear, will make this bike easier to pedal. I thought it would be nice to put on a nice looking chain, and I found this orange chain on Amazon for pretty cheap. Let's add up all the upgrades on this cheap but now way more capable bike. I'll leave links to everything in the description. So far we've swapped out the terrible fork for a rigid fork made by Gusset. Total cost $90. We fixed the wobbly rear axle, cost my time, which is valuable, as is yours. The flimsy cranks replaced with a set of stolen Mob chromoly cranks. Total cost $60. We replaced the world's worst bottom bracket with an Odyssey BMX Euro bottom bracket. Total cost $35. Sunlie 32-tooth sprocket cost $10, plus another $5 for the top hat washer, so a total of $15 for the sprocket setup. The stock chain might be the only brand name part on this bike. It's a KMC, but I thought a fresh chain would be nice. That cool looking orange single speed chain was made by Alta. It cost $14. I left the stock rear brake and adjusted it as best as I could. You just need to give yourself a little room to stop. What? Why are you looking at me like that? I don't want to spend any more money on this bike. I'll put a better brake on it, but I'm not spending a lot of money. I picked up this hydraulic rear brake made by Bucklos, another Amazon off-brand. Where they come up with these names, I'll never know. Anyway, the cost of the rear brake, $31. Ironically, the easiest part to install on this bike.
There's no rub.
And perfectly aligned, first time. Not bad.
Yes.
And the $1,000,000 question? Does it have stopping power? Yes, plenty. So, total cost of the upgrades with the brake, $245. Add that to the cost of the bike, and you have a total cost of $445. But did these upgrades make the bike any better? I'd say yes. In fact, the bike is a lot better. When I first got the PT26, it was a flimsy, rattling mess. Now the bike feels rock solid. It's quiet and pedals great. On top of that, we shaved almost 2 pounds off the weight, which blows my mind. Still heavy at 32 pounds, but better than before. There are 3 things you can't change about this bike though. One is the geometry. The chainstay is long and it hinders the playfulness of the bike. After riding this bike for a few weeks, I grabbed my Spank Tweet, which is considered a classic dirt jump bike. I noticed a big difference between the two bikes. The Spank would launch so much easier. So much to the point where I overcooked several jumps to flat and tweaked my ankle. The second is the head tube. The faux tapered look is just stupid. I don't know why they would do this, but I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I don't think it hinders the bike's performance, but it's definitely ugly. I really hope there's a valid engineering reason for it. Lastly is the mystery steel that this bike is made from. It's not chromoly, it's likely high tensile steel, maybe even carbon steel for all I know. And we have no idea. It's heavy and you can't change that. Luckily, steel is generally strong, so hopefully the buyer of this bike will get some years out of it. As far as value goes, how does this compare to some of the cheaper core brand offerings? Well, the Verde Theory is $700, and that gets you a chromoly frame and decent parts, but you get an old-fashioned rim brake. The Mafia Blackjack is another mystery metal steel frame with a mystery fork and is heavier than the Mongoose at a whopping 35 pounds. But it gives you a shorter chainstay and will probably be more playful despite the weight. The Haro Steel Reserve is by far the best spec to dollar ratio at $650. You get a chromoly frame and a respectable build spec. Oh yeah, one more thing. Let's get all the decals off this bike and make it look a little more aggro. And one last touch. Now we have a worthy bike. And I have to admit, it looks pretty cool now. These part upgrades improved the feel, the performance, and the looks. And we've made this bike more than just a pump track bike. If you made it this far, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel, and maybe even hitting that bell icon to get alerted to more content. I really wanted to hate this bike, and I really did. But after doing these upgrades, the bike feels really good. And if you're on a tight budget and absolutely can't afford to drop $600 or more on a core brand bike, the $425 investment will get you a decent bike. It's not perfect, but you're not going to find a $425 dirt jumper brand new. Now that the bike is done, I need to make room for new projects. So I'm going to give it away, but I want this giveaway to be meaningful. So stick around to see what we do. And if you have any ideas about what to do with it, let me know in the comments. I'm open to suggestions. So is a $200 dirt jump bike worth it? Only if you spend another $245. I hope you enjoyed this leg of my journey. Thanks for watching.